The moment you realize you never needed them is the moment they start losing their mind. That one line should hit them like a brick to the chest, because deep down they knew you were better than how they treated you. But they gambled. They thought you'd never walk away, that you'd always be waiting with your heart in your hands like a doormat they could step over whenever it suited them. But now the game has flipped. Now you're not begging. Now you're not calling. And now they're losing sleep over the silence they once took for granted. Before we go deeper, hit the like button right now if you've ever felt used, unseen, or discarded like you were trash. Subscribe if you're finally choosing yourself. This isn't just a video. This is your awakening. Stay with me, my friend. It's time they see what they lost. Hey folks, imagine this. You were a golden key, but they were too blind playing with plastic locks to see your worth. You poured your love into someone who treated you like an option, like backup, like emotional garbage they could pick up and toss aside on a bad day. You gave them loyalty, and they gave you breadcrumbs. And yet, you stayed. You tried. You begged for closure from someone who knew damn well what they were doing. You weren't too much. You were just too real for someone addicted to games. Let's call it what it is. They wanted you broken. They wanted to keep you stuck in that cycle of almost enough, almost loved, almost chosen, because the moment you realized your worth is the moment they lost their grip. That's why they ghosted. That's why they flirted with you just enough to keep you hooked, but never enough to commit. You were never the problem. Their ego was. And now, that ego is choking on silence. You know why they're quiet now? Because your peace is loud, because your healing is heavy, because you stopped chasing, and now they're chasing closure in the very silence they created. They may smile in public, post selfies, act like they're thriving, but that's performance. Behind closed doors, they replay the moments they dismissed you. They feel it now. Every message you don't send is a reminder. You're not waiting anymore. Don't fall for the illusion, my friend. Just because they're not crying in front of you doesn't mean they're not suffering behind the scenes. People who lose something valuable rarely make noise. They sit in silence and regret it in secret. That's their punishment. Let them live with it. You were not meant to be somebody's emotional punching bag. You are not garbage. You are not some broken soul begging to be fixed. You are the fire they couldn't handle. You are the peace they couldn't disturb. And now they know. They know you never needed them. And that truth, it burns deeper than any insult ever could. So let them pretend, let them act, because pretending is all they've got left. But you've got power, you've got clarity, you've got freedom. And guess what? That's killing them more than your love ever healed them. Remember this every time you want to text them, every time you want to check on them, every time you wonder if they ever think of you. They do, constantly, but they'll never admit it. Their ego won't let them. And that's fine. You don't need their apology. You don't need their love. You never did. Stand tall, move in silence, choose yourself. Comment these 4 words below if you're done being played. I choose me today. And if this hit home, press that like button. Subscribe for more, because your power is just beginning. Stay with me. Number 1. They wanted you weak, because that's when they felt powerful. Some people only love when you're beneath them, because your light scares the hell out of their shadow. And that, my friend, is the ugly truth you keep dancing around. They didn't want a partner. They wanted a puppet. They didn't want your strength. They wanted your silence. They loved you the most when you were on your knees, crying for their approval, begging for their crumbs, chasing their ghost. That was their high. Your pain was their power. Your confusion was their control. Your emotional breakdown, their ego boost. They didn't love you. They loved you needing them. And the moment you stopped doing that, the moment you stood up and looked around, you saw it. You saw how sick the game really was, how they only showed affection when you were breaking, how they only answered when you were desperate. You weren't in a relationship. You were in an emotional prison, being punished for caring too much. Picture this. You're standing in a burning house and they're holding the water hose, but only spraying you when you scream loud enough. That's not love. That's psychological warfare. That's manipulation dressed up as maybe. They wanted to keep you on edge, not too far gone, but never fully free. Just close enough to crave what they'd never give. And here's the part that hurts. They felt powerful doing it. They liked watching you spin, watching you doubt yourself, watching you question your worth while they sat on their throne, made of your broken boundaries. You became their emotional doormat, and they wiped their feet every time they felt insecure. Ask yourself, why did they go cold every time you found peace? Why did they only show interest when you were slipping back into pain? Why did they disappear the moment you stopped reaching out? Because they didn't want you healed. They wanted you hooked. They needed you to stay small so they could feel big. You think they don't care about you now because you're silent? Oh no, they care more than ever. But now they're powerless. Now your independence is a threat. Now your glow is a mirror, and they can't stand what they see. The puppet cut the strings. The show is over, and they're sitting backstage with a face full of regret and a heart full of fear. But their ego won't let them say it. Let me be blunt. You forgot who you were. You forgot how rare your soul is. You gave diamonds to someone who saw you as disposable. You turned yourself into emotional trash just to feel chosen. You became what they needed, even when it destroyed who you were. And now that you're waking up, you feel the anger. Good, let it burn, because that fire will set you free. No more explaining yourself. No more bending just to be tolerated. No more shrinking so someone else can feel tall. That version of you is gone, and thank God. You're not here to beg anymore. You're here to build. You're not here to chase anymore. You're here to rise. They wanted you weak so they could feel strong. But now they have to face the nightmare they never expected. You don't need them. You're not broken anymore. You're not scared. And that silence, it's not weakness, it's warfare. Every second you stay calm is another second they realize you were the best thing they ever destroyed. So don't look back, don't send that text, don't check that page. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them choke on the power they lost. Because this version of you, the one who doesn't beg, who doesn't chase, who doesn't need them to validate your worth, that version is the one they can never control again. Say it with me now. I am no longer feeding their ego. I'm feeding my soul. Type it in the comments if you're done being played. Show them, show yourself, show the world, and stay with me, because what's coming next, that's the part where you become unforgettable. Number 2, they rejected you because they couldn't understand you. What they didn't understand, they tried to break, but what they broke rebuilt itself in silence. Let that one sink in, because that's exactly what happened to you. You weren't rejected because you weren't enough. You were rejected because you were too much, too real, too awake, too emotionally deep for someone who was still stuck in the shallow end of their own empty little game. You brought oceans, and they only knew how to swim in puddles. You came in with truth, with depth, with loyalty, and they panicked. They didn't know how to receive it, so instead, they ran. Worse, they mocked it. They twisted it. They made you feel like you were too intense, too clingy, too emotional. But the truth is, you were just too evolved for their ego. And that's what cowards do. When they don't understand something, they destroy it. They don't ask. They don't grow. They attack. because your honesty forced them to face the lies they were still living in. Your loyalty called out their games. Your emotional clarity threatened their confusion. You weren't the problem, you were the mirror, and mirrors terrify people who don't want to see themselves. Think about it. Every time you tried to love them deeply, they backed away. Every time you got closer, they got colder. Why? Because real love requires presence. Real love demands honesty, and they couldn't handle that. They wanted surface-level nonsense, quick thrills, low effort, shallow validation. They wanted to keep things vague and grey because they were scared of being seen fully. But you saw them. You saw their pain, their potential, their patterns. And that's what scared them the most. So instead of growing with you, they rejected you, not because you were wrong, but because you were right. And it takes a weak, emotionally stunted soul to take something beautiful and try to crush it just because it challenged their false sense of control. But here's the part that hits even harder. You believed them. For a while, you actually bought into the lie that you were the problem, that maybe you were too emotional, too intense, too sensitive. You started dimming your light just to make them comfortable in their darkness. You toned yourself down to fit their tiny, fragile box. You swallowed your truth to keep peace with someone who was at war with themselves. And for what? To be half-loved, to be tolerated instead of celebrated. Let me snap you out of that lie right now. You were never too much. They were just too little. And now that you're gone, they're finally left alone with the very silence they tried to bury you in. That silence is their karma. That silence is your power. And the best part? You didn't just survive it. You rebuilt in it. Quietly, strongly, without applause, without validation. You turned their rejection into a resurrection. You stopped asking why they left and started remembering who you were before they confused you. You stopped chasing closure and started becoming your own damn answer. And now that you're back in your power, they don't know what to do with themselves. Don't expect them to admit it. They won't. Their ego won't allow it. But trust me, they feel it. They see it. They regret it because they know now they pushed away someone who was rare, real, and ready. And people like you don't come back. People like you don't wait forever. People like you evolve. And that's what they'll have to live with. Not just losing you, but losing the chance to grow with you. So stop doubting yourself. Stop replaying the rejection like it was some kind of verdict on your worth. It wasn't. It was a spotlight on theirs, their weakness, their fear, their inability to match your depth. You were a soul in a world full of masks, and they didn't have the courage to take theirs off. Say it with me now and type it below if you're finally seeing the truth. I was never too much. They were just too little. Let them drown in the silence they created. Show them, show yourself, show the world, and stay with me, because what's coming next, that's where the regret gets loud. Number 3. Your silence says what your words never could. The loudest scream is silence from the one who used to care. And now they hear it, louder than anything you ever said in pain, louder than any argument, louder than any message you could have sent. They don't want to admit it, but your silence is driving them insane. They thought you'd break. They thought you'd lash out, beg, cry, explode. That's what they were banking on, because if you reacted, it meant they still had power. But you didn't. You didn't scream. You didn't chase. You just disappeared, and that, my friend, is what's killing them slowly. Silence is not weakness. It's not apathy. It's not manipulation. It's mastery. It's you finally realizing that no words will ever fix what someone chose to misunderstand. It's you understanding that explanations don't work on people who were never listening in the first place. You gave them your voice long enough, and they twisted it, ignored it, and mocked it. So now you've taken it back, and they can feel the void. Let me paint the picture for you. They post something half-baked on social media, hoping it triggers you. A quote, a song lyric, some passive-aggressive photo. They're not over you, they're provoking you. They scroll past your name just to see if you viewed it. They're checking if you're still watching, still orbiting, still caught in the net. But what they don't see, you cut the line. You left the stage. You've become unreachable. Because here's what they don't understand. The opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference. And your silence is pure, icy, soul-cutting indifference. It's you saying without a word, you no longer live in my world. I've moved on. I'm not fighting for a place in your life anymore. That message, it hits harder than anything you could have screamed. And now their mind is the battlefield. Every night they lay in bed wondering why you haven't reached out. Every time they see your name without a message, their stomach sinks. It's not just silence, it's punishment. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because they finally have to sit with the consequences of what they did. You're not rescuing them anymore. You're not cleaning up the emotional mess they left behind. You're done. You see, they were addicted to your attention, even your arguments, even your tears. It made them feel wanted, powerful, relevant. But now your silence is a wall they can't climb, a mirror they can't escape. And that truth? That you no longer care enough to respond, that's what eats away at their soul every single day. You think they're fine just because they're quiet? Wrong. Quiet is not peace. Quiet is chaos without a voice. And right now, they are screaming inside the silence they created. You're not being cruel, you're being wise. You've graduated from emotional chaos. You've stopped wasting your breath on people who don't value your voice. You've realized that real power doesn't come from proving your point. It comes from not needing to, because silence is the strongest boundary you will ever draw. It's the line between who you used to be and who you are now. And yes, staying silent is hard, especially when you know they're thinking about you, especially when your heart still wants answers. But answers won't give you peace. Distance will, because peace doesn't come from making them understand. It comes from no longer needing them to. So don't break the silence. Let it speak. Let it echo in their mind, like a song they can't turn off. Let them wake up wondering why you're not chasing. Let them feel the weight of losing access to your presence. Because the version of you that begged, cried, pleaded, that version is gone. And in its place stands a person who understands this one truth. Not everything deserves your voice. Say it with me and type it in the comments if you're done explaining yourself to people who don't deserve your energy. My silence is my statement. Let it echo in their mind forever. Show them, show yourself, show the world, and stay with me. Because what's coming next, that's when they finally break. Number 4, they pretend they're fine, but they're not sleeping well. They smile on the outside, but every night they fight the war they created. And isn't that the most twisted part? The ones who caused the most damage, the ones who discarded you, ignored you, replaced you like you were some disposable toy, are now the ones faking peace. They're putting on a show, hoping the world sees confidence while their conscience is collapsing. Don't be fooled by their filters. Don't fall for the illusion. That smile, it's stretched so tight it's starting to crack, because the truth doesn't sleep. And it's catching up with them in the quiet hours of the night. You see them at a party in a story, maybe hugging someone new. You see the laughing emojis, the travel posts, the living my best life captions. But you know what they're really doing. Running, performing, hiding, because people who are at peace don't need to prove anything. But people who are haunted, they try everything to escape their own silence. And here's the reality, my friend. You were the only real thing they had. The only person who stayed when they were ugly, when they were cold, when they pushed you away, and you still showed up with your heart open. You didn't walk away when they hurt you. You tried harder, and they took advantage of that. They confused loyalty with weakness. They mistook depth for desperation. And now Now they realize they lost something sacred, but their pride won't let them say it. So they pretend, because pretending is safer than admitting they messed up. They'd rather look unbothered than admit regret. But regret doesn't go away just because it's hidden. It festers. And at night, when no one's watching, when the mask slips, they're wrestling with memories they can't delete. Every ignored text, every time they made you feel invisible, every cruel word they said while you stayed soft. It all replays like a broken film reel in their mind. They're not sleeping well, and no, it's not insomnia, it's karma. Because when you hurt someone real, someone pure, someone who gave you their all and asked for so little in return, the universe doesn't let that slide. There's no pillow soft enough to silence a guilty conscience, no distraction loud enough to drown out what they lost. They didn't just lose you, they lost access to your light, your peace, your loyalty. And that's a kind of suffering they can't post about. That's a kind of pain they can't confess to their friends over drinks, because it makes them the villain in their own story. They're scared to admit they miss you, scared it will make them look weak, scared the image they built will collapse if they reach out. So they suffer quietly, in their bed, in their mind, behind the phone screen where your number used to light them up. You think they're fine? Look again. Look at the silence between their posts. Look at the nervous jokes. Look at the way they watch your story but never say a word. That's not confidence. That's quiet panic. You were never the burden. You were the blessing they took for granted. And now, every night they lie awake thinking about how you're no longer there, that your warmth is no longer theirs, that your love now belongs to someone else. Or worse, for them, to yourself. That you're finally choosing you. Don't envy their smile, don't believe their performance, because when the lights go off, they are exactly what they made you feel once, alone, confused, and desperate for peace. But they won't get it, not yet, not until they face the storm they created, not until they admit what they did. And by then, you'll be so far gone they won't even recognize who you've become. Say it with me and type it in the comments if you're done wondering how they feel. They lost me, and now they lose sleep. That's their karma, not my burden. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And stay with me, because in the next part, they'll realize exactly what kind of soul they threw away. Number 5. They see your glow-up, and it haunts them. They tried to bury you, but they didn't know you were a seed. Read that again, slowly, because it's not just a metaphor, it's your story. They thought discarding you would be the end of you. They thought ignoring your messages, replacing you, ghosting you, tearing you down would crush your spirit. They didn't expect you to rise. They expected you to spiral, to cry, to fall apart so hard that you'd be crawling back, begging for their attention again. But you didn't crawl. You grew. Quietly. Powerfully. Right beneath their feet. And now every step you take forward is a thorn in their side. Every smile they scroll past. Every success you post. Every time your name pops up looking calm, confident, radiant, they flinch. Because it reminds them of what they had. And how they destroyed it. You were the one they said wasn't ready, the one they labeled too emotional, too much, not enough. But look at you now, focused, glowing, unreachable. And that glow? It's not for them. It's not for revenge. It's for you. But here's what hurts them the most. You don't need their applause anymore. You stopped needing their validation to feel valuable. You stopped proving, explaining, begging to be understood. That silence they hear from you, it's not emptiness, it's elevation, because the real glow-up isn't just physical, it's spiritual, it's emotional. It's the moment when you realize their rejection was never your reflection. It was a mirror of their limits. And your progress now? It exposes them. Let's be real. They're watching you. Don't let the silence fool you. They may not reach out, but they're lurking. They're watching every update, stalking through your wins like ghosts. They act unbothered, but inside, they're scrambling to process how the hell you became the version they never believed you'd be. The version they swore you'd never become without them. The one that proves them dead wrong. Because in their story, you were supposed to fall apart. You were supposed to stay stuck on them. But you didn't. You went no contact. You leveled up. You stopped crying and started building. You made peace your priority. And that's what kills them most. You didn't need them to become unstoppable. And now they're haunted. Haunted by your power, by your absence, by your success. They don't say it. They won't congratulate you, but the guilt creeps in. The regret hits hard when they see that the very person they discarded became everything they secretly wished they could be. You see, their ego won't let them clap for you publicly, but their soul is screaming in private. They can't help it, because when they see you shining, they also see themselves and everything they lost. But don't go back. Don't give them front row seats to a show they tried to cancel. Let them watch from the shadows. Let them sit in the same silence they once weaponized against you. You don't need revenge. You are the revenge. Your peace, your power, your progress. That's the closure. That's the final word. You healed without them. You glowed up in silence. And now they're left to wonder what could have been every damn day. So don't dim your light. Don't tone it down to make them comfortable. Turn it up. Shine harder. Not to hurt them, but to remind yourself who the hell you are. You survived what was meant to break you. You transformed. And now they're haunted by the echo of the words they never said, the love they never gave, and the version of you they'll never touch again. Say it with me and type it in the comments if you're rising from the fire they threw you into. I rise in silence. I glow without their validation. I am the proof they were wrong. Show them, show yourself, show the world, and stay with me, because the next part, that's when their pride starts collapsing under the truth they can't hide anymore. Number 6. They might still love you, but ego won't let them admit it. The hardest thing they'll ever face is loving someone who outgrew them. And they do love you. Oh yes, don't let their silence fool you. Don't let the fake smiles or the new relationships or the hollow laughter convince you otherwise. They still feel it. That emotional pull, that familiar ache in their chest every time your name comes up, that quiet guilt that creeps in at night when they remember how deeply you cared, how patient you were, how forgiving you tried to be, even when they kept pushing you away. But their ego, that's the cage they built for themselves. They love you, but they'll never admit it, because to do that, they'd have to admit they were wrong. And admitting they were wrong would mean facing the truth they've been avoiding this entire time. That they didn't deserve you, that they broke something that was pure, that they lost something they'll never replace. So they keep it buried. They suffer in silence. They pretend they've moved on, while every version of you still echoes in their mind. The way you laughed, the way you supported them, the way you stayed, even when they were impossible to love. And now you're gone, and they can't say a word. Their pride won't let them. Their fake persona won't let them. They'll sit across from someone new, trying to fake connection, all while comparing them to you. And no matter how hard they try, they'll never find that energy again, because your soul can't be copied. This is what happens when you love someone unconditionally and they only loved you under conditions. They were fine when you were small, when you were chasing, when you were easy to control. But then you grew, you evolved, you started choosing yourself, and that's when they realized they were losing something rare. But instead of saying, "I miss you," or "I messed up," they stayed silent. Why? Because ego would rather bleed quietly than heal openly. You ever wonder why they didn't reach out? Why they watched your stories but never messaged? Why they talked about you to others but never directly to you? Because they're afraid. Afraid that you've outgrown the illusion they once kept you trapped in. Afraid that you'll see them now, the small, insecure, ego-driven person behind all the fake confidence. They're not just scared of your silence, they're terrified of your growth. And here's where your power truly lies. You don't need their confession to heal. You don't need their apology to move forward. Their silence, that's your answer. Their absence, that's your closure. You don't need the words, "I still love you," to validate what you already know, because their energy says it every time they scroll past your name and pause, every time they play that old song that reminds them of you. Every time they look for you in people who don't even come close. They'll love you in secret, regret you in silence, and remember you in pain. And that's enough, because love without respect is not love. Love without growth is not love. And what they feel now is not your responsibility. It's the consequence of treating a real one like they were replaceable. Don't fall for the trap of hoping they'll say something. They won't. Don't wait for a message. It's not coming. And even if it did, it wouldn't be honest. Because as long as their ego runs the show, they'll never be able to speak from the heart. You deserve someone who doesn't just feel love, but shows it, honors it, protects it, and clearly, that wasn't them. So let their silence be their prison, let their ego be their punishment, and let your peace be the reward you gift to yourself. You didn't lose them, they lost you. And that loss, it's permanent. Say it with me and write it in the comments if you've finally accepted the unspoken truth. Their ego is their punishment. My peace is my power. Show them, show yourself, show the world, and stay with me, because what's coming next, that's when you stop looking back and start leading forward. Number 7. They thought you couldn't live without them. Now you're thriving. The moment you stop needing them is the moment they need you. And that's exactly what just happened. You flipped the whole damn script, and they didn't see it coming. They thought you were weak. They thought you were hooked. They thought they were the oxygen in your lungs, the reason you smiled, the center of your emotional universe. In their head, if they left, you'd fall apart. You'd lose your fire. You'd break down begging for just one more breadcrumb. But instead, you rebuilt. Not with noise, not with drama, not with revenge, with silence, with discipline, with calm power. And that glow, it's blinding them now. Let's be honest, there was a time when you believed it too, that you needed them, that you couldn't breathe without them, that your future somehow depended on their approval, their attention, their half-hearted love. You waited on their texts like your soul was on pause. You bent, twisted, shrank yourself into whatever shape they wanted just to keep them around. And what did they do with that version of you? They used it, they mocked it, they threw it away. They took your loyalty and fed it to their ego. But look at you now. Not only did you survive, you thrived. You got up with shaky hands and rebuilt brick by brick, silently. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped fighting for a seat at a table that only served manipulation and confusion. You took your hunger for love and fed it to your own spirit. And now they see it. And it's tearing them up from the inside. Because here's the twist. The version of you they thought couldn't exist without them is the version they can't get over. You became everything they said you couldn't be. You got hotter, healthier, wiser, quieter. You stopped reacting. You started creating. And now that you don't care if they see it or not, they can't stop watching. They check your page more than they check on their own mental health. Every new post is a punch to the gut. Every story you don't watch, every message you don't send, It's a silent reminder. You're not coming back. You see, the moment you stop needing someone is when they start needing the version of you they'll never get again. And no, they won't admit it. They'll play it cool. They'll stay quiet. But their silence is loud now, isn't it? They're sitting in the same stillness they once weaponized against you, and now it's their prison. You're not just healing, you're haunting them with your peace. And that is the loudest revenge you'll ever get. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to throw shade or send subliminals. Just keep glowing, keep building, keep choosing yourself, because they're watching you thrive in the very absence they thought would destroy you. And it's breaking them in ways they'll never show. And here's the most powerful part. You don't even care anymore. You're not pretending. You're not performing. You're not secretly waiting for their return. You're actually done. You've outgrown the need to prove your worth. And that peace, that unbothered, graceful, grounded peace, that's what they'll never get back. That's the cost of taking a real one for granted. Never apologize for this growth. Never shrink back into who you were just to make someone else feel okay about letting you go. You didn't betray them by healing. You honored yourself by rising. And every step forward you take now is papabai or pampais, my mapabais, tea, papabais, step or pampampapabais, or pampampapais, tea. From the version of you they once controlled. Say it with me and write it in the comments if you've broken the cycle and stepped into your power. I thrive in their absence. I rise in their silence. I win in my peace. Show them, show yourself, show the world, and stay with me, because what comes next, that's when you choose you without hesitation. That's when they realize you're gone for good. Number 8. This is the part where you choose you and never look back. You don't move on when you stop loving them. You move on when you start loving you. This is it, my friend. This is the moment. Not some fake closure conversation. Not a text from them 2 months too late. Not a maybe we can talk message that reopens old wounds. No, this is the real moment you move on. Not because they gave you peace, but because you finally gave it to yourself. They were never your future. They were a lesson, a mirror, a test, a chapter that was meant to end. But you kept rereading it, hoping the ending would change. It didn't, and it won't, because people who can't even love themselves will never know how to love someone like you. Someone loyal, someone deep, someone real. And now that you've stopped fighting for their love, you've started discovering the most important love of all, your own. You see, we've been lied to. We were told that moving on meant you had to forget them, that you had to erase every memory, bury every feeling. But that's not healing. That's denial. Real healing is messy. It's quiet. It's raw. It's waking up one day and saying, I don't need them to come back anymore. It's no longer needing them to regret what they did. It's realizing their regret is their burden, not your closure. And yes, they will regret it. That moment is coming. The moment they look at your life and see joy without them in it. The moment they feel the silence stretch too long, too cold, too final. The moment they realize the love they mocked was the only thing that was ever real. And it'll hit them like a storm when you're already long gone, already thriving, already living in a peace they can't touch. But this isn't about them anymore. This isn't about what they feel. This is about you, your rebirth, your glow-up, your next chapter. You've given them enough of your nights, enough of your thoughts, enough of your tears. Now it's time to give yourself everything you were trying to give them. That energy, reclaim it. That love, pour it into your own heart. That loyalty, save it for someone who sees it, respects it, honors it from day one. You are not some unfinished story waiting for their return. You are the author now. You hold the pen, and you are writing a masterpiece, one where you don't need anyone to complete you, because you were never incomplete. You were never too much. You were just trying to be enough for someone who wasn't even ready to show up for themselves. So don't look back. Don't wonder if they still think of you. They do, but that doesn't matter. What matters now is that you think of you, that you put your heart back in your own hands, that you remember who the hell you are, not what they made you feel like, not what they reduced you to, but who you were before they tried to dim your light. You are not a second chance. You are not a backup plan. You are not a temporary high. You are home, and you are finally coming back to yourself. And now we've reached the part they never thought you'd make it to, the moment you choose yourself and never look back. If this message spoke to your soul, then it's time to make it loud. Like this video if you're done begging for love. Subscribe if you're rising from the pain. Share it with someone who needs to hear they were never the problem. And drop your affirmation in the comments. I choose me today. Let it be known. Let it be felt. You're not broken. You're becoming. And this is just the beginning. Stay strong and stay with me.